Okay, so this video is going to be centered around um, talking about the Utah Raptor project that we're going to be working on and discussing um, some of the features that we would like to see incorporated. So I think the very first discussion to have centers around Jurassic Park. When I originally watched Jurassic Park way back in the day, um, uh, the raptors in Jurassic Park are maybe a little bit smaller than Rogue here, this raptor. Um, and so, when I started playing Ark Survival Evolved a couple years ago, I saw these raptors and I immediately assumed that they were uh, the Jurassic Park, the Velociraptors, right? Because Jurassic Park centers around the Velociraptors and is kind of enamored with Velociraptors. Um, the problem is Velociraptors were not this big. Real Velociraptors were much smaller. Real Velociraptors were, the size of these guys here. Um, and so, and in Ark Survival Evolved, the raptors, and notice it's just called a raptor. It's not called a velociraptor. It's not called a Utah raptor. It's just called raptor. um, they in Ark Survival Evolved ASE, they did not have those feathers. They added those feathers in ASA, and they might have added them in an update of ASE. Maybe I'd have to go back and play ASE to see, but part of the reason why those feathers were added is because I think they got some feedback from the community that basically said these are not velociraptors, and so what they tried to do is they tried to add those feathers and basically say, oh, but see, it's a Utah raptor because Utah raptors were actually about this size. Um, I remember stopping at the Natural History Museum in Price, Utah, and right at the entryway, there's a skeleton of a Utah raptor, and it's about this size, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And I have been enamored with Utah raptors ever since. So this is about the right size for a Utah raptor. Velociraptors were probably about the size of this Trudon here. And so we probably have an opportunity to make our own Utah Raptor if we decide that sorry, not Utah Raptor. We probably have an opportunity to create a true Velociraptor if we want to do that. Um, Archangel here is a Archaeopteryx, which was a real animal, and the Microraptor as well. And I brought them out here just to provide some size comparisons for this Utah Raptor discussion. So I think if we were to develop our own Velociraptor, it would probably be about the size of the Trudon, and I think that we would want to probably use the Trudon as the base model for it, and then go from there. And of course, we'd have to recreate the 3D model itself, but we'd probably use the Trudon as the base asset in the dev kit for making the a Velociraptor. So, if we're gonna make our own Utah Raptor, um, the reality is when I originally started this Raptor project, I did not know that the Deinonychus was a thing in the game. I genuinely did not know. It wasn't until after I envisioned creating a Utah Raptor that I found out Deinonychus existed in the game, and that was when I uploaded my character. I went over to Valgaro and I went and found some Deinonychus eggs, and so that's why I have. Okay, dude, you're causing problems here. You need to go away. So the reality is that the Deinonychus is probably 95% what I envisioned for our Utah Raptor, unfortunately. So we do have some 3D models that our modders have created, and I'll show you those here in this video. Um, I'm really excited about the 3D models that we're going to create our own Utah Raptor with. But that said, the Deinonychus, honestly, so, if we never created the Utah Raptor, the Deinonychus would probably be good enough, and I would probably use it in the role that I was considering the Utah Raptor for. Um, Now, uh, the next thing, so in terms of size, in terms of real, in terms of size, the Raptor or the Deinonychus are about the right real life size for for what a true Utah Raptor would have been in real life. So you can kind of see size comparison to a person, what a Velociraptor would have looked like, probably about that size, and what a Utah Raptor would have approximate size for Utah Raptor. So when we develop our Utah Raptor, we don't want to go too big. Um, I think if we, the Mega Raptor here, I think has some merits in terms of size for sorry, in terms of features for a Utah Raptor. I do like the very creative saddle. I like, of course, the fact that it's got the feathers on the tail, but notice the arms don't really have the feathers like they're supposed to. The front claws are gigantic, and um, there's no ripper claw on the feet, which of course the Deinonychus does have that ripper claw on the feet, like the Utah Raptor had. Um, so we could consider, if we wanted to go a little bit bigger than the Deinonychus for our Utah Raptor model, we could potentially use the Baryonyx. The Baryonyx is actually larger than real Baryonyx were, just a little bit, but we could potentially. But I think going the size of the Mega Raptor would be incorrect. So I don't really want to go that big. Um, but we could consider something between the size of the Deinonychus. Goodness. So we could go somewhere between the size of the Deinonychus and the size of the Baryonyx, potentially. But I don't definitely don't want to go any bigger than that. All right, so let's demo some of the features. So attack is basically just a claw attack. Notice there's really so secondary attack here. Oh, maybe they added this. I didn't. So it does scrape with its feet like that. You see, with this, if you use the left trigger instead of the right trigger, left trigger, um, and that's it for attacks. This is a basic Raptor. um, Now, these three over here, I've already gone over them in another video, but the Microraptor, sorry, that's the Microraptor. Microraptor it can kind of sort of fly. It's a shoulder pet, but it doesn't allow the player to fly. The Archaeopteryx, if you're holding the Archaeopteryx, it will allow the player to kind of act like they have a parachute, which is nice. So I don't want to do this for too long. uh, so the Microraptor is also a shoulder pet, and you can launch it at your enemies, and it can dismount them. So like if they're riding something, and you launch it at them, it can attack your enemy and dismount them from that. The Trudon, you know, I need. I've only recently just uh, I've only recently just tamed the Trudon because it has a fairly complicated taming mechanic that's really annoying. But it's not a shoulder pet, so it really is just kind of like it's almost like a dog. You know, it follows you, it can follow you around. It's best in packs. So if you wanted to, um, um, so the Trudon's best in packs. So again, not a shoulder mount, not rideable. Um, okay. I've demonstrated the regular Raptor. So let's talk about the Deinonychus and why I really like the Deinonychus. Um, so it can glide, which is fantastic. Um, it left trigger does not do anything, but right trigger is very similar attack. So right trigger produces a very similar attack to the 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 base Raptor. But there's something I want to show you. Let's see. Well, it is too small. I need a larger target here. Okay. What I'm. Let's see. Let's see if it works here. There we go. Okay. So you saw that black, or sorry, that red target. Um, see the red target, and press left trigger when you see that red target. Allows you to cling on to your target and start inflicting damage. Now, the thing to know about the Deinonychus is it inflicts what's called bleed damage. So bleed damage was something originally implemented with the Thylacoleo. And what that means is that instead of just basic melee damage, it is ripping into the animal itself. And the bleed damage, it becomes a percentage of the health versus just inflicting, a set number of damage from the health. I don't know if that, hopefully that makes sense. So, it doesn't matter whether the animal has 100 health or 100,000 health, because the bleed damage is a percentage. It's going to affect, let's just pretend like 10%. So it can either inflict 10 damage or it can inflict 100 or 1,000 damage. 10%. Again, so that's the nice thing about the bleed damage, and so I can imagine that our Utah Raptor will be very, very similar in that sense, um, being able to uh, perhaps do that cling move. Maybe I don't know that I want to copy too much, but um, the photos that I've seen, or the photos that we have that we're going off of, um, show the possibility of, you know, well, okay, show the Utah Raptor. It's really cool. Show the Utah Raptor like pinning its prey. We could have it using its claws. Let me see here. I really should have had this ready. Is this the right one? That's the right one. Yeah. Um, so something like this, would be what I envision for the what our Utah Raptor would be capable of doing. Now, this is a uh, oh my poor brain. Uh, it's one of my favorite mounts, iguanodon. This appears to be an iguanodon. Um, so having our Utah Raptor be able to pin iguanodon-sized animals, iguanodon or smaller, like that, would be kind of cool. That would be a cool thing that we could do with our Utah Raptor. So in terms of size, human size here, number one, this is that Microraptor. I showed you the Microraptor capable of dismounting. Velociraptor is what I was talking about half the size of a human, maybe a little bit smaller. Um, number five is the Utah Raptor. So about the size of a human. Now, I will grant that the Deinonychus is probably, let's see here. I don't know. Deinonychus might be pretty close to the right size there. Seems a little bit small, probably. And then, so number six, yeah, okay. So this is actually the Deinonychus right here. Look at that. So this is the Deinonychus. So actually, now that I'm looking at this, the Deinonychus is oversized in this game. It's actually too big. It should be a lot smaller. It should be more, just maybe just a little bit larger than the Archaeopteryx. Um, so we're probably looking at something a little bit bigger than the game's Deinonychus. Maybe something more the size uh, of the Baryonyx. Maybe that would be more appropriate to have it more Baryonyx sized. Um, uh, let's see how to just remove that. Yep, I do. So let's go ahead and remove that. Yes, I want to remove it. And I have another one here. So this is another rendering of the approximate size for a Utah Raptor. This one's a little bit bigger. This one's probably more the size of that uh, of the Mega Raptor in the game. Maybe a little smaller than the Mega Raptor. So these are the I may as well just show you the last one. That's kind of the same as I've already shown you. So this is what we're thinking about when we're thinking about bringing in or creating um, our own Utah Raptor here. So again, the size comparisons. You can see that the Deinonychus is probably a little bit too small, but let's go 3D here, or third person. So Riptide might be, if we pull I think this was the right one, yeah. Yeah, Riptide is my Baryonyx here. So if we were to use the Baryonyx as the base model, the base game asset to to put our own skin for the Utah Raptor, our own 3D model on it, and then adjust its behavior to be more like the Deinonychus, I think that might work. Okay. Um, Other things that we need to think about. Um, Clearly, we're gonna need some sounds, right? 'Cause all of these animals make noises, so we're gonna need walking noises. So you can hear its footsteps. So we're gonna need walking noises. We're gonna need a pooping animation. Everything in the game poops. Um, so it's gonna need it'd be nice to have kind of a unique pooping animation. It's gonna need idle animations. Notice how its tail is swinging. It's doing that little head bob. Sometimes it moves its fingers and its toes. So it's going to need idle animations as well as walking and running animations. So walking, running. It's going to need attack animations, um, preferably two different types of attack animations. Um, Left trigger doesn't do anything with the Deinonychus. There's just the main attack, and then of course, when that red target shows up, I believe that's when you can do. And for whatever reason, I think the animal needs to be large enough in order for that red target to show up, and the parasaur is just not large enough. Um, so we'll need attack animations as well. Um, and I would love again, in terms of a uh, attack mechanic, I would love to see it. I wouldn't mind if it could cling the way that the Deinonychus does, but I'd love to see it be able to pin prey, um, like in those photos, and slash with its feet, um, not just with its arms. Because the attack animation here, that's nice, but we're completely ignoring the fact that it has slasher claws on its feet that it's gonna use uh, to inflict bleed damage. So maybe right trigger is something like this, and left trigger slashes with the feet and inflicts bleed damage, right? So a normal melee attack, and then left trigger with its feet to inflict bleed damage. Whereas, maybe the normal melee attack doesn't inflict bleed damage. Um, so just some thoughts that I've got on that. Um, okay, I think that concludes our discussion for developing the Utah Raptor. Okay, so I actually decided that um, I would show some of the proposals that I've received so far to develop uh, the Utah Raptor. Um, this one came from one of our folks on our Discord page. This is Mia's proposal, and I love the color. I love the detail in the feathers. Ripper Claw looks fantastic. I love the look on the face. The the way that the face is. I really like that. So that's Mia's proposal. This came from Emran, and you can see uh, uh, detail here as well. Um, so this is Emran's proposal, and this was done by Modzilla. You can check out the detail in the feathers. Look how sort of like translucent they are. That there's let's see what else. You can see I like the detail in the face, and the feathers especially come to life. I really like that. Um, just look at those feathers. That is fantastic. As you can see right here, the the claws underneath the feathers. I love it. Oh, that's not the one. That's the one here. There we go. Um, oh, you can see how the feathers are fanned like that. Absolutely fantastic detail. Um, and I just like I said, I like the look in the face. I think it's gonna be a good be able to scalable to the proper size that we're looking for as well. Um, okay, and we've got you can kind of see it from the side there. So this is Modzilla's proposal here that he put together. Okay, from the top, you can see the detail and the feathers on the back, right? and and of course this is the picture that uh, they were going off of. These two pictures here. Okay, and I think maybe those. I don't know. So so yeah, there you go. Let's look at. No, I'm trying to figure out where the feathers on the back came from in terms of uh, the design. But anyway, so that's it. That's these are the proposals we've received so far to become the 3D model for the Utah Raptor.